The former Prime Minister Scott Morrison as well has detailed his struggles with depression and anxiety during his time as Prime Minister. Let's discuss that and the big issues of the week. Joining me now, Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister Patrick Gorman and the former Liberal MP Jason Falinski. Gentlemen, thanks both for your time. I guess to you first of all, Jason, you had a bit to do with Scott Morrison. Do these revelations surprise you at all?
Tom, they don't in a way, and I think it explains a lot of what occurred during that time. I think Australians have forgotten how intense that period was when we went into shutdown with COVID, particularly in 2020, when we really didn't know what the death toll from that virus would be and how many people would die. And Scott Morrison was the type of person who took all of that responsibility on his shoulders. And I think that it's important that he's opened up and talked about that so that there are other people in our community and our society feel that they can do likewise and know that they're not alone.
I guess the interesting thing as well, Pat, I mean, Labor not exactly complimentary of Scott Morrison. You know, you don't have to be. It's politics. It's there's a cut and thrust of it. But did it surprise you? Because he was called many things, you know, a bulldozer. People sort of thought, oh, he doesn't listen to anything. He doesn't care about anything. He just goes through and he's got this sort of limitless confidence. And behind the scenes, seemingly not.
Well, I think I'll just actually join with Jason and say I think this was Scott Morrison modelling good leadership behaviour in being open about the fact that when he was worried about how he was dealing with anxiety from one of the most challenging jobs in the country at a very challenging time, that he sought help to ensure that he didn't get into a worse state of mental health. And I thank Scott Morrison for choosing to share this. I've pre-ordered his book because I think even where there are political divides, you can always learn from those who hold those senior roles, those positions of power in our democracy. And I think we see more and more leaders being open about how they deal with the various challenges of those roles. I know here in Western Australia, a number of years ago, we had Jeff Gallop resign from the role as Premier, citing mental health challenges. That was a great leadership moment. I thank Scott Morrison for sharing his story and hopefully inspiring anyone who might be facing mental health challenges to get the help that they need so they can continue, as again, that's the other part of this story from Mr Morrison, is he continued to do the job because he got the support that he needed.
Yeah, and look, always criticism of Prime Ministers, but indefatigable in that role, it should be pointed out. Right until the end, but particularly through COVID, I would not have wanted his hours and job at that time myself. The economy, Jason Falinski, this must be something, I don't know if you're secretly hoping it sort of tanks or we get no rate cuts at all until the election and you can cruise back into the seat of McCalla, or do you have to pretend that you hope the Australian economy goes well until then?
I'm not pretending, Tom. I hope the Australian economy does do well because, the fact of the matter is that a lot of Australians rely on our economy to do well. And Australia is a nation of aspiring individuals who strive, who work hard to get ahead both for themselves, for their families and for their communities. So when we see some of the figures that we've seen out of the United States overnight, but out of Australia more recently, it is a matter of great concern. And when we hear Jim Chalmers talking about increasing taxes, we've seen the OECD release overnight that Australians suffered the greatest increase in personal income tax increases of any nation of the OECD, by 7.6%. It was almost double the country that came in second. And what we have here at the moment is lazy politics. No one wants to deal with the epidemic of spending, which is driving so much of our inflation rate. All we want to do is keep taxing aspiration. And if you keep doing that, there'll be nothing left to tax.
So the next budget, Patrick, we've got inflation running a whole percentage point above where it should be. Should be 2.5, it's 3.6. The next budget just cannot, if it's a responsible one, tip more money into the economy, can it?
Well, what we've seen from the two budgets that we've delivered so far is that they have done that responsible restraint on spending. That's the reason that we've delivered the first surplus in 15 years. We've sought to do the things that are in our control, where we do have deteriorating global economic outlook, but to do the things we can do in our control to both take pressure off inflation, at the same time as finding smart ways to take pressure off household budgets. We've done that when it comes to investing in early childhood education. We've done that where we've invested in productivity measures such as fee-free TAFE. But we also have looked for the smartest way to deal with the spend that was already in the budget, and that's what we've done, where we've changed the tax cuts
this budget,
to make sure that there was
this little hint from Jim Chalmers, we've got to worry about growth. That's fine, but inflation, it hasn't shifted to a sort of dual issue, has it? Inflation surely is still the main game, given the figure we had out this week.
Well, we recognise that a budget has to do a range of different jobs, and we recognise that when it comes to inflation, inflation is running at about half of what it was when we came to office. That's not true. Inflation heading in the right direction. We'll continue to make sure that we, where we can, take pressure off inflation while also taking our responsibility to deliver real...
What do you want to weigh in on there?
Well, look, Tom, it's pretty simple. You know, we've known since the 1970s that inflation is caused by too much money chasing too few goods. We have an epidemic of spending by the federal and state governments around this country, and this is only going to drive inflation up. Inflation is not heading in the right direction.
But the federal coalition didn't bring down its percentage of GDP. Its last budget still had it way above.
Yeah, it did, absolutely. We were tailoring...
It had a chance to hand down the tough budget, and you didn't.
Absolutely, Tom. We were tailoring off from the COVID expenditure that we had. We gifted this government 2 budget surpluses, as well as Chinese stimulus has done that as well. And then on top of that, all that we've got, look, it's a pretty simple question. At this budget, are we going to continue to tax aspiration, or are we going to stop NDIS paying sex workers? It's a pretty simple question. They're the sorts of decisions, tough decisions, that Jim Chalmers has to make if he actually wants to bring inflation down, drive up productivity and improve the working lives of all Australians. It's that simple, Tom.
Be quite the campaign slogan, that one you enunciated there. Jason, Patrick, just quickly on this, I've got one more topic. I'm not sure if I'll get to it. We'll see if they cut me off. What's your response, Patrick?
Tom, you should stand up for yourself.
Than the pitch that he just gave us, and I also think Jason's a better economist than the outline that he just gave us. What we know is that one of the biggest pressures on the budget is that $1 trillion of debt and the interest payments on it that was left behind by Jason and others. We've done a lot of work to tidy up the budget, to rein in spending.
No,
it's not $1 trillion.
We didn't stop
carefully targeted.
Here we go. Next topic.
Measures.
You told me to, Jason.
Next topic.
I'm the host. Listen to me. Housing. So apparently it's not international students causing the rent crisis. It's one-person dwellings, one person living in a house, and offices instead of bedrooms. Are you part of the problem, Jason Falinski? Have you converted a bedroom into an office when you could be, sheltering someone who can't get a rental property out there?
Jesus. No, Tom, I'm not part of the problem. The problem is Clover Moore, if you want to pick one person, because people like Clover Moore...
Did you answer my question, though? You got a home office?
We went for about 3 months without a Clover Moore mention. We're
Indeed. I was challenged to a Clover Moore. Tom, there is actual econometric analysis of this showing that the zoning laws and regulations by councils drive up prices in Sydney by 68%. And that goes on in all the other capital cities. You want to solve this problem? Build more housing. It's pretty simple.
Jason won't answer me. Patrick, you got a home office. Are you part of the problem?
Well, I actually do agree with Jason. We need more housing. That's exactly what we've sought to do since we came to office, with $25 billion of new investment in housing across Australia.
Sounds like you both got a home office.
Patrick, Tom, yes, do you have a home office?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, no. Oh, OK. That was not the answer I was expecting.
Yeah. You're not answering me. I think the viewers can make up their minds. Send us your best picture of your home office, Patrick and Jason. We'll get some vision up next week if you still come on my program, because sometimes I'm not very nice to you. Gentlemen, thank you. Talk next week.